now starting with 0 subscribers, what are you going to do when your first video gets, 300 views? And that happened for months and months and months. So the challenge was having a long-term vision and understanding that in order to grow, you have to commit for the long run.
Welcome everyone. This is going to be an incredible panel session. I'm so excited to be sitting with these individuals today. They're top media journalists that have decided to leave their companies to pursue a creator-led business in media. So I'm really excited to learn from them and hear what motivated them to take the leap, but also to hear what some of the trends are in launching a creator-led business as well. So just to start, we might start with Taylor, just to hear a little bit about yourself with a quick introduction, and we'll go across the line.
Yeah, my name is Taylor Lorenz. I actually started independently as a blogger for many years, then ended up working in traditional media, and I quit my traditional media job in October to go back to being independent.
Yeah. Hi everyone, I'm Ahmed Elgamal, entrepreneur, content creator, founder of Money Secrets. Money Secrets, it's a financial platform trying to simplifying complex financial concepts. Our studio is here, Money Secrets podcast. You can visit us in our studio. I established Money Secrets before 1.5 hours, and now we are here. Thank you.
Wow, congratulations.
So I left CNBC and started making videos about tech, economics, and different cultures. I started doing it in 2020 and been doing it across all platforms, across different countries.
So I'm curious to hear, what was that aha moment that made you realize that you wanted to start your own thing?
I'll start. Well, my editor retired. I was working at the Washington Post. I had gone there to work with this man, Mark Seibel, who's one of the most iconic journalism editors in the business. He retired, and there wasn't really, I looked around at the other media organizations. I thought about staying, and I just didn't really have the heart to stay in it after he left. So, and I had wanted to go back to independent for a long time, so it just seemed like a good timing.
And just a quick follow-up on that, were there any challenges that you faced when you decided to take that leap, or anything that you had to overcome?
Mostly I was scared about revenue. Obviously, going from getting a steady paycheck to not a steady paycheck was very worrying. So I spent a long time. I made the decision in June, and then I spent several months creating a business plan, lining up a bunch of brand type deals for October, which is when I ultimately left. And kind of setting the stage. I also had to get the IP, figure out the branding for my company, register a trademark, all of those types of things that you don't have to worry.
It's a lot of work.
So yeah, it definitely, I would say, it's not an overnight decision.
And what about you, Ahmed? What was your aha moment which made you take that leap?
I worked before 6 years in RT TV in Moscow. It's a challenge for me to leave my job, but I trying to do a big impact, and I searching about creativity, freedom. Traditional media, it's more limited. When you create your own platform, you have more freedom, more creativity, and I found it when I established Money Secrets.
Yeah.
During the pandemic, there was a lot of we couldn't travel and stuff, and TikTok started booming. So I just realized this is a really good chance to just go free and have no limits.
Yeah. And then for both of you, were there any challenges or anything unexpected that you faced with going through that journey?
Sure, there's a lot of challenges. The first, maybe the most challenge is finance. You need money to start, you need money to continue, you need money to have sustainability for do episodes. I do podcast, I do long videos. Need a lot of money, need equipment, studios, cameraman, teamwork. It's a challenge for me to establish this platform, and now we trying every time to solve all of this problem. Now I have studio, I have teamwork, great teamwork.
And what about you, Uptin?
Well, yeah, the challenge was, so at CNBC I was working on the YouTube channel, and some of the videos that I would, write and host would get millions of views after we had all built it up as a team. So now, starting with 0 subscribers, what are you going to do when your first video gets, 300 views? And that happened for months and months and months. So the challenge was having a long-term vision and understanding that in order to grow, you have to commit for the long run and not look for these like easy wins over the course of a day or a week or even a month, and really commit for what I said is I'm going to commit for 1 year, and I'm going to do YouTube for 1 year, 3 videos per week, no matter what, and then I'm going to see what happens. And that's kind of what helped me to break through the challenges of not getting any views your first.
Views, it's a very important challenge. All of us faced this problem, views, but I need to advise all, views will come, you must to continue.
Of course.
Don't stop, be patient.
And so it's interesting what you said, Uptin, about giving yourself that year to sort of experiment and grow. But for all of you, how have you kept yourself motivated in that sort of first year where you're really trying to sort of, I guess, test and learn, see what works, and grow an audience?
You just gotta fall in love with the process and the journey, and enjoy the storytelling process. If you consume yourself with the analytics, then you're gonna give yourself a lot of reasons to stop creating videos. For those of you on YouTube, you know about the YouTube Studio app. And after you post a YouTube video, you'll open it up and it'll say how it's ranking compared to your last 10 videos. So sometimes it'll say, hey, this is ranking 1 out of 10 compared to your last 10 videos. Other times you'll open it up and it'll say, hey, this is 10 out of 10, basically saying you're a moron, right? And so, you have to learn what your limits are in terms of like analyzing and even consuming the analytics. For some people, it's helpful. Like, okay, this is 10 out of 10. Here's why. Let me change the thumbnail. But for other people, it can be very destabilizing, right? Like, I'm just gonna give up. This is stupid. Why did I even make a video, right? And so you have to learn what your limits are, and don't let data overwhelm you and stress you out.
And money has come up a few times on this panel so far. So I'm just curious just to hear, what are some of your main revenue streams? Where was your focus? And then where are you looking to expand as well?
So I run an agency. It's called Uptin Media. We have Izzy, Kiki, and Abi, who are from the agency. We're based here in Dubai, and we're a UGC content agency. So if you look at a lot of the big brands in Dubai on their Instagram or their TikTok, you'll see creators, and a lot of times we're the company behind them doing that. So we kind of white label videos for brands. Brands need to be, in order for a brand to succeed on social media, they need to be humanized, right? All the data suggests videos with a human performs better than videos without. Companies are inherently very bad at being human. So that's where we come in, and that's one of the revenue streams for me. And then I also do brand deals, and I do some ad revenue from YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I think the main purpose of Money Secret for me, not just money, but I need to make a great connection. I think great connection is revenue money. After that connection, we can close deal behind the scenes. You can close deal, and this is monetize money in the future and maybe in this time.
I monetize primarily through Substack, which is a newsletter platform. I have a newsletter called User Mag, or User Magazine. It's usermag.co. Everyone subscribe. And so that I generate a lot of subscription revenue from that. And then I also have a podcast called Power User. You can listen on all platforms. It's primarily a YouTube podcast, weekly interview show. So I do some, that's monetized. And then I still do some freelance writing to kind of like, as like a stopgap. And I do brand deal partnerships as well. So it's a little bit of a mishmash.
So just on UserMag, because I was having a look at your subscriber base, and I saw that you have over 60,000 subscribers. So how have you generated that subscriber base? I'm really curious.
Yeah, well, I launched in October. So I have, so I started as a blogger. I don't even want to say the year, but it was 2009. And so I have a lot of people that have actually been following my work since then across platforms, and they'll follow me no matter, like, one thing I've always done is I don't have where I work in my bio. Even when I worked at the New York Times or Washington Post, that was never, like, I want people to read me because they're reading a Taylor Lorenz story, not because of where I work. And so when I told my followers that I was launching this Substack, I converted a lot of people from that.
Yeah.
And but I think it's about like building a dedicated audience that will follow you across platforms.
Okay. And for those people in the audience that don't really know much about Substack and how you make money on the platform, can you just share a little bit on that?
Yeah, Substack is similar to Patreon. You might have heard of that. Or now Kajabi has a lot of offerings too. It's basically a platform that lets creators generate subscription revenue. So I publish a newsletter on there. Sometimes people just publish videos or podcasts on there, although it's primarily newsletter writing. And so everybody pays me $7 a month or $70 a year to get access to my newsletter.
Yeah, great. And what about you, Ahmed, because you've got your podcast? How have you been able to grow subscribers on your podcast?
About podcast and also about my content, there is a big challenge about when I start my content. I built my audience in Egypt, and I focusing just in Facebook because it's popular in Egypt, and I gained 1.6 million followers. And now I didn't use this follower for anything because I based in UAE, and if I make any collaboration, need local followers. And I focused last 2 years in Instagram to increase local followers from UAE to generate money and to make collaboration. And also in Money Secrets, I focusing in GCC followers to generate money and make collaboration.
And I'm curious to hear from you, Uptin, because we were just chatting before the panel, and we do something quite similar. I run also a UGC agency, but based out in Singapore. And I'm curious just to hear your thoughts, because I know that you personally have quite a big YouTube following. And do you think that there's a shift towards media company owners or just entrepreneurs now starting to create their own brand on platforms like YouTube to use that as a lead generation tool?
Not so much on YouTube. I mean, YouTube is quite time consuming. What I'm noticing is like a lot of personal brands. So if you're like an entrepreneur, a personal trainer, a dentist, you're realizing like that you need to be making videos to drive more business to your business, right? And so you're going to be using LinkedIn and Instagram. Those are the two big ones. And it's a huge opportunity for people. And I think, again, it goes back to like why we're on stage, in that humans get more followers than brands. Tim Cook has more followers on LinkedIn than Apple does.
So I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about trust, because sometimes with independent media companies, there can be the view that they're not trustworthy as a heritage media company or traditional media company. So I'd love just to hear from any of the panelists, like, what is your response to that?
That's a narrative that's always been put forward by traditional media, and I remember it from my earliest days as a blogger. And it's the truth of the matter is that of course, traditional media has some realm of credibility, but also so do independent media. I think it really comes down to the specific person. Unfortunately, what I will say about trust is that I think a lot of grifters, for lack of a better word, have accurately recognized the sort of decline of traditional media, and they're seeking to exploit that by positioning themselves against it in order to kind of capture an audience with their dubious content. It's a difficult media environment, but I don't think anybody should trust anything they read or consume. We should be smart consumers no matter where you're getting your information from.
And what about either of you?
It's unfortunate that traditional media has gotten that reputation, but I agree with Taylor in that it is so nuanced that you cannot give a black and white answer to this question. But I do think that the journalists I worked with had the highest integrity and editorial standards, and I have so many examples in that with different bosses that I've worked with. That it was sad what happened after 2016, and it's sad that the trust has been eroded.
So just on this point of talking about traditional media, do you think with the rise of short-form video content, right? Like anyone can pick up their phone now and be a sort of news reporter, right? And report on what they're seeing. So do you think traditional media is losing relevance, or do you think there's still a space for them?
I think they've lost the relevance. Again, it's very funny to hear all of these conversations that are happening around short form video also happen with blogging. And with any sort of democratization of the media, which I wrote a book last year called Extremely Online, which talks about the past 20 years of the internet and sort of how this democratization of media has happened. That's already happened. I think the problem for the media right now is actually not even trust, it's more their business model. The business model of advertising has been completely gutted and subsumed by these tech platforms. So you have companies like the New York Times, they pivoted a decade ago to becoming a tech platform. They mainly monetize through games and cooking, and that subsidizes the journalism. So companies that have been able to build those types of more sustainable business models will succeed. But I mean, aside from the New York Times, I don't even know who else has really done that. It's been kind of a bleak, most of those traditional companies won't survive. And by the way, a lot of it's because their own hubris, because they have been so resistant to change and so resistant to building new media models. Instead, they just sort of shit on creators and refuse to acknowledge the shifting consumption patterns of their own, client base.
And I think just to add on to that, I know that I spoke to a media company based in Australia, and they were looking at how they could start working with creators for some of the travel publications. But to your point, I agree with you. Sometimes it's a older way of thinking, and you need to have that sort of more adaptability and growth mindset as well. So I just wanted to leave some time for questions. So I just want to have a final question from me. What are 3 pieces of advice you would give someone if they were looking to leave traditional media or even just start a creator-led business?
I need to advise audiences that if you take this decision, be patient, because success not have been easy to achieve. You must to have time management, because time is money. Work against the clock. Be patient, practical, dedicated.
I would say be authentic. Talk on camera as though you're talking to a friend.
Yes.
Don't put on a special voice. The second one is, pick a topic of something that you're passionate about, even if you think a lot of times people are like, oh, but there's an opportunity in this category, but they're not actually passionate about it. So make sure that ideally you're passionate and there's an opportunity. And then the third is done is better than perfect. You just gotta keep telling stories, making videos, posting. I meet a lot of perfectionists and they don't get too far in as content creators.
I think that's a really good point, and I love what you said earlier on in the chat about just enjoying the process as well. Yeah, good points.
Enjoy.
I'll give one piece of advice, which is it's very hard to do anything alone, and collaboration is really important. And a lot of people will try to collaborate with people that are bigger than them, and I think that's a mistake. I think you really need to build a community with other people that are sort of also starting out or also at your level. I just think no matter what kind of creator you are, you want that support. And those people are not really, I think that people view them as competition. If you see somebody doing something really similar to you, you should reach out to them. You clearly have the same goals, or you're interested in the same things, and you can ultimately help each other and collaborate. And the internet is endless, and it's not a zero-sum game. So I think, it's really important. Yeah, collaboration is really key, and try to build that community early that you can rely on and help each other grow. It's like a rising tide. What is it? A rising tide lifts all ships.
Yeah. That's such a great point as well. And I think one thing I've learned with creating business, sometimes you need to step away from the laptop and just get out and meet people in real life. So even going to meetups and just seeing what other people are working on, because it can be really lonely if you're doing it by yourself at the start as well. So we have a couple of minutes left, so we might just open it up to the floor if anyone has any specific questions they want to ask. There's a question out here.
Thank you. Firstly, thank you for the kind of authentic insights. Really appreciate it. I'm curious to get your lens on content monetization for established brand creators. There seems to be a lot of money left on the table, right? It seems to be very much a flat fee structure. What are your thoughts about shifting gears into a more revenue sharing deal, pay for performance that goes beyond just clicks? To give you a specific example, a brand creator, an established one, got $100,000 from Amex. Amex, on the back of that content, made over $12 million in terms of new subscribers. So my question is, how do we as an industry shift from, I'm going to produce you content, I get paid for content, so it's transactional, versus if you can make money off my content, I want to have the upside in the revenue share with you?
I think, like you said, it's mostly based off sales. Like, there's already a lot of those sort of partnerships based on, like, performance, like sales performance, right? Like, I'll sell this amount of shoes, I get this amount of affiliate revenue. I do think in, like, the athlete space, there's been a lot of those types of deals. So I think it'll trickle down. Like, big creators do get those deals where they do get more of an upside, or they're like, there was that joke where like all the celebrities were becoming like creative directors or whatever, but then they were getting, you know, portions of revenue. So I think it's about just to give useful advice for creators, I would say it's more about developing those deeper relationships with the brand where you can say, hey, can I hold some sort of like in-house position or be some sort of consultant for you? And like, can I then be entitled to like a little bit more? Can we go deeper in that way?
And I would just add on to that, I think it's a really good point about having those deeper relationships as well, and talking about maybe there is that flat fee, but based on the performance, you get a percentage. I know when we work with influencers out in Singapore, that a lot of the companies that I'm speaking to now is that they want to have long-term partnerships with these influencers and have them as brand advocates. So I think that there's a more open dialogue to that. I think it's a really good point. Yes.
I'm going to keep it really short. I did 27 years in the broadcast business as well and left about 8 years ago to start my own business. But the fundamental question is I train young journalists basically how to do what you guys did. Is there a future for news? Like even if they pivot and change, because there was a lot of discussion on the stage yesterday on the technology stage about a new platform, maybe with the journalistic kind of centre. But is news dead?
I think news is the primary driver of growth for content creators. When you look at the content creators that are growing like really rapidly. I mean, outside of like the ones that do challenges like Mr. Beast, but even Mr. Beast sort of pegs it to different like newsy sort of things in the zeitgeist, I guess. But I think news, I mean, look at when people like want to get information about the wildfires or whatever. It's like news has become this, I mean, people want information about the world around them, so it's not going to go away, in my opinion.
And also instantly, people want to just get that update straight away as well. So I think that's also a key driver. So thank you. I think that brings us to the end. So I just want to thank our panelists with a big round of applause.
Thank you.